Hey guys, it is Kelly from Kelly's Unexplained, and I am here with an extremely interesting guest. I met him over Instagram, been kind of watching his stuff on YouTube, and he is a doctor who has dealt with near death experiences and the afterlife from some of his patients. This is Dr. Don Molnar. Did I say that right? I'm going to add him to the stream. Hey, Dr. Don, how are you?
Yeah, you did. Yeah, you said that right.
Okay, good. So, this is absolutely an honor for me to bring you on. I think that we've all wanted to kind of connect science with the paranormal. I mean, that's what we are. We're investigators, we're scientists in general. I mean, that's what we do. And we ask questions, we investigate, we try to get the answers. But when you bring in the medical side of things, I think it's really cool to get your perspective. So tell me a little bit about your practice, what you can tell us, your MD, who you work with, and how long you've been working with that.
Yeah, so thanks for having me on.
Yeah.
So I'm a internal medicine trained doctor. Internal medicine is from the age 18 to the time you pass. So, so we end up dealing with a lot of end of life care where people decide they don't want to keep trying to get better. They just want to let nature take its course and pass. So then we take over and try to help them be comfortable, whatever that takes, and work with the family and all that. So internal medicine trained. I've actually, this year will be 20 years out of training. I finished my residency in 2001, which is crazy. So I've been a doc for 20 years now. And
when you say 2001, that literally seems like 5 years ago, but it's not.
It's crazy.
Like it's 2021. That's literally 20 years ago. But when you think of 2001, it doesn't feel
crazy.
Like that.
Well, every 10 years we got to take our board. So we got to get recertified in internal medicine. Our license always stays, but we have to get recertified. I'm going on to my second recertification. Actually, in October, I've taken my second recertification, and it's hard to believe that 10 years already went by since my last one. In 2011, I did my other certification, so it's crazy. But anyway, so I'm originally from Ohio, grew up in Ohio. I moved to Virginia in 2009, and then I live in Charlottesville now, in all that. So I really didn't get into actually paranormal investigating until I came to Virginia. I've pretty much all my life had weird things happen since I was a kid until now, until the present. And I'd seen all the shows, early 2000s. And then I was working at a place in Virginia before I worked at where I work now. And there was a nurse came back and she had mentioned that she had been ghost investigating with the team. I'm like, what? And there's a team here in this area? And she said, yeah, Twisted Paranormal Society. And so I met them and joined them in 2012. And that's kind of how I got into actually investigating, even though I was always a little curious. I just never really had an opportunity to kind of join a team. So I joined them in 2012 and did all my, we went all over the place investigating Virginia, up into Pennsylvania, down to North Carolina, West Virginia a little bit. So, and then in around 2018, I decided I wanted to kind of branch out a little bit and start bringing in the medical aspects of paranormal. Because up to that point, I had pretty much just been doing, the typical ghost hunting you see on the TV shows and things like that. And it was interesting and all that. But then I started branching out and realizing about, all the near-death experiences and, the deathbed visions and all the stuff I post on my Haunted M.D. Facebook page. So then I branched off and I kind of overlapped for about a year or so. And then I finally decided just to do my own thing with the Haunted M.D. project. And with the Haunted M.D., I try to do a mix of paranormal investigating along with the academic parapsychology thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, but anyways, before I ramble all night, what do you got?
So, it is, there's a new Netflix thing called Surviving Death. And have you seen that? And what is your take on that before we get into your personal experiences with, your patients and your near-death experiences with them?
Sure. So I thought it was a great show. In fact, when I watched it, I'm like, this is a lot of stuff I put on my page. I'm like, it was like a TV version of what I do.
It kind of validates what you're doing. Like, this is what I'm doing, or I agree with this. And when you watch things like that, it brings validation to your practice.
It did. I was blown away because almost everything they talked about on that show, I've discussed. on my Haunted M.D Facebook page. Before I started my Instagram, I had a Haunted M.D Facebook page that dates back to the original, like back to May of 2018. So I've posted, everything, post about pineal gland, post about near-death experience. I post evidence clips. But anyways, back to the show. I thought it was well done. I thought it was really cool how they brought in Dr. Bruce Greisen and Dr. Tucker with the.
You know those guys, right?
Well, I haven't met them, but they work for University of Virginia Division of Perceptual Studies. So I've seen a lot of the videos and read different stuff on them. I'm kind of on my own. I work for UVA, but I'm not part of the Division of Perceptual Studies.
Okay.
I kind of just do my own thing. I've thought about reaching out to them a couple different times. But I know of them, and they do some pretty good stuff. There's like a whole group of them, and they're, you do the near death. They do, one of the really interesting things is besides near death is children with previous lives.
That is so interesting.
Yes. Yeah. So then they do.
I absolutely need to check out their website for sure.
Yeah, they do deathbed visions. People see, loved ones right before they die, and they do. They're also doing stuff as studying mediums and studying psychic abilities and studying other out of body experiences. Like some people that are advanced yogas can really get to a point where they can have this almost leave their body kind of thing. So there's people researching that there. But no. So anyways, about the show. I thought it was really well done. They seem to really cover everything with the near death, the reincarnation, the deathbed visions, the ghost hunting, the mediumships,
and kind of just bringing all of these aspects together and showing everyone how all of this is connected.
Right.
So many different ways. So you've experienced something kind of interesting on bringing someone back to life. They flatlined. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, this was an interesting experience. This happened within the last couple of years here. So when there's a code blue, the doctors are in charge of running it. So they call it code blue. That's basically somebody's either stop breathing or pretty close to stop breathing, or their heart stops. You got to come down there, and a lot of times they're basically dead. By the time you get down there, you got to, you're doing CPR and kind of things. Right. So, so the doctor, what my job is, I stand at the foot of the bed and I kind of direct everybody, you do medications, you do this, you do that. And so my back's, so I'm facing the patient with my back towards the wall or the back of the room. And so this person had been on dialysis and just went out, lost his blood pressure, lost his heart rate, and stopped breathing. So we ended up, getting the code going and working on him. So took us about anywhere from 12 to 15 minutes or so to kind of get him back. But the amazing thing that happened to me was I felt this rush of energy come from behind me, through me, through and past me into the patient. And I was like, what in the world? And as soon as I felt like this it was like a wind, static electricity, a cold breeze, kind of all put together. It wasn't, it was more than just a breeze. And I don't think it was any kind of like heater vent or the air conditioner like that. Something went through past me into the patient. And right when this kind of hit the patient, after it got through me, we got his pulse back. So we got his cardiac rhythm back on the EKG machine. And then he came back, we got him back to life slowly and surely. Now the place where I work, it's a satellite hospital of the main hospital. So generally anytime somebody codes like that, we usually send them out. We send them to the main hospital because if somebody coded, it's a little bit beyond our resources that we have at our place. So reason why I tell you that is
able to hey, let's chit chat about what just happened here.
Right. I wish I would have, but no, I didn't get a chance. So often in codes, it's hard to bring that up right away unless they come right back. Usually they're going either to a different hospital or you're sending them to the ICU. So you got to kind of take an active role to say, you know what, I want to follow up with that guy and see what happened he felt and stuff like that. So, but it was amazing, and for me, I didn't mean to cut you off. I'm always skeptical. So I want people to know that are watching this or watch it later that I'm not one to say, oh my God, everything's paranormal, right? So I'm always like, what in the world was that? To me, it was something, it felt like this man's soul rushed through me or past me.
And so from a skeptic who is based in the medical field, who questions everything and wants to debunk things and is like, there's no other explanation for this. I know what I felt.
Right.
That is, but that gives you hope for, the afterlife, and it kind of just gives you validation of
Right.
what we've been seeing. Yeah, I mean, I love the science and the medical aspect to
You
the
know,
afterlife to this, and from your perspective. And thank you for your service. I know the
oh,
COVID stuff has been, extremely hard on the medical field. So I appreciate you, being there for us in this time.
thanks. Yeah. I just say a quick thing about COVID. You know, I don't deal with the frontline stuff, but I deal with the after effects. We have
Yeah.
where I work is a long-term acute care. So we see the after effects. It's devastating. It's no matter what your politics are, what you think about it,
Yeah.
it's devastating. I mean, people are debilitated. You end up having renal failure. Your kidneys may not recover. You have strokes. You
So
get blood
take it
clots.
seriously, folks.
Yeah.
Sure.
And the families. And the other thing is the families are devastated because the families can't visit the people. So it's just really, you got to take it seriously. So
Yeah, absolutely. So you, not only you've dealt with people that have flatlined or code blue, but you're dealing with like hospice care, or,
yes,
elderly that are on the deathbed that don't want to be, alive anymore. That like, it's my time. I'm at peace. I'm ready to go. So tell me about those experiences where you're dealing with the elderly who are passing. You're with them when they pass. What are some things that you've noticed, some patterns, anything you can tell us about that?
sure. So one of the coolest things is, people have deathbed visions. Have you heard of those deathbed visions?
Yes.
So people, right before they pass, they'll see either a deceased spouse or deceased family member, brothers, sisters, those kind of things, or they'll see religious figures, angels, or something spiritual to them. Sometimes the deceased family members will come with a pet, their deceased pet. So, anyways, this happened before I was really into the what I do now. I wish I would have thought about it back then, but this is when I was working at the other hospital in Virginia, and this lady, we had decided to make this lady comfort care. She was an elderly lady and didn't have any family, so we kept checking on her pretty regularly because we felt bad she was by herself. And I went in to check on her, and she was looking at the ceiling and just
like fixated on something.
Yeah, big eyes, big smile. And I actually asked her, I'm like, I actually asked her, which is atypical for me at the time. I'm like, what in the world are you seeing? Because she was seeing something, right? She goes, don't you see those angels up there? And I'm like, I looked up. I'm like, I don't see them, but I'll believe you. And then the nurse came in about on the same time, and she's like, what's going on? I'm like, she's seeing angels. And we both look up again, but she was, the lady was comfortable and all that. So we left, and I told the nurse, I'm like, I think she's going to pass soon if she's seeing angels. And she died about an hour or two after that.
That breaks my heart. But I mean, at the same time, she was smiling.
She was very happy, very at peace. That's what was the amazing thing. And even, when I think back about the feeling in the room, there even was kind of like an energy in the room, when I think about it now, almost like pins and needles, and there was a certain kind of brightness to the room. There was a window in the room, but when I think back now, there was kind of this kind of warm brightness feeling, and this lady just smiling, big bright
And
eyes.
this was before you even had this belief, or, you were somewhat of a skeptic.
Yeah. This was even before I started ghost hunting and all that stuff. Now you got to remember, I've had crazy stuff happen all my life, so I've always been open to paranormal, but I hadn't really witnessed that event like I did with her up to that point, even though I've been a doc for a long time. And so, yeah, it was pretty interesting.
So tell me about your childhood experiences, because I was telling you backstage before we went on, and most of the people that have followed me for a while know this, that I really haven't had experiences until last year. About 6 months, 9 months is when I started this, and it started at my house. And then it kind of opened third eye, or this, I don't know, my aura changed. Sean Austin, I interviewed him a couple weeks ago, and he's like, the color of your aura has changed. They know that you believe them. They know that they can talk to you. They know that they can come to you because it's been opened, which made so much sense to me. So like I said, with you, you've experienced certain things your whole life, kind of you kind of questioned it, didn't kind of put it in the back of a folder, kind of departmentalized it. So tell me about what, you've experienced as a kid.
Yeah, so it's there's a lot. There's a lot. I won't tell you all of them, but it
Oh,
just
there's a
seems like
lot. Wow.
it seems like all my life I kind of been a ghost magnet. In fact, on the team I used to be on, the Twisted Paranormal folks, they used to be like, "You're a ghost magnet," because it seemed like stuff would always happen around me or to me, that kind of thing. So, trying to think, I always tell people about I'll tell you about the light figure real quick, and I'll tell you about a couple other things real quick. So, one of the things I used to see was I would see a child-sized figure of light. Now, you couldn't see any features of it. You saw arms, shoulders, but it was like, my size. And I would see it peeking around the corner. And I would talk to me and my mom used to have these talks about angels and religion and things like that. And I'd say, Mom, I just saw a light thing peek around the corner. And she's like, what? What are you saying?
It wasn't like a dark shadow figure.
No, it was like a light, like a calming light. It's like a being of light. And I told my mom, and she's like, well, that's your guardian angel, which I don't think she knew what else to say. But, I seen that for probably like a year or two. I'd see it run across the living room and those kind of things. One of the other things that would happen is I would hear my name be called. I'd be upstairs, and we had a two-story place at the time. I was probably like 5, 6, somewhere around there. I'd hear Don, and it would sound like my dad. So I'd come running downstairs because, my dad was really strict. And when he called, he came.
Yeah, you don't know your dad.
Yeah, it was like back in the 70s, man. Parents weren't messing around then. Yeah. And so I'd come running down, and like he'd be really puzzled and look at me like, what? I'm like, didn't you call me? He goes, no, I didn't call you. And I don't think he was messing around either. And I even remember asking my mom, like, did Dad call me? And, when it was just her and I, and she's like, no. So that would happen pretty frequently where I'd hear my name called from some male voice. It was crazy. So
did your parents ever notice this and go, Dawn, there's something special about you? Or come on now. I mean, did they notice these things, these abnormalities with you? Or
yeah, so my family, so that's when people ask me about why I'm so open-minded to paranormal as a physician. And I think because we grew up in a very open family about it. My dad was, he's since passed. He died in 1994, but he was a believer in Bigfoot, UFOs, ghosts. In fact, my dad had experiences, I could tell you if you're interested, that him and I had same experiences, but independently. And when we compared notes, it was crazy. But so my dad was real open to it. My mom was also open to it. And me and my mom were always really close. We always chatted about like religion and angels and things like that. And she also was open to the idea of, psychic abilities and things like that. So they were always really open to it. In fact, my mom just thought I just had some kind of gift, paranormal gift or that kind of thing. And so can I tell you about my dad and my experience?
Yeah.
So this is crazy. So we had moved houses. So whatever I experienced was to follow me from house to house. So we were living in a house. We had a pool table. And my bedroom was above the pool table because we had like a split level house. So I was above the pool table. Sometimes my dad would come home. My dad he was a steel worker. So he worked swing shifts. He worked, sometimes night shift, sometimes day shift. Sometimes he would come home late at night and he'd say, hey, you want to come down and play pool with me? And I would say, sure, I'd go down and shoot pool with him. And there was a couple of nights where I'd hear the pool balls breaking. Like somebody was playing pool. So I would go down there and think, hey, Dad's playing pool. I go down and play with him. And I was more, like 12, 13 at this time. And you go downstairs and there was nothing. The pool table was still covered. The balls were still on the rack on the wall. So anyways, I had those experiences. And one time we were sitting around as a family talking about ghost stuff. And my dad's like, Don, he's like, the other day, I heard the pool balls breaking at nighttime. And I thought you were playing pool. And this is before I told him my story. And I'm like, my blood just went out of my face. I'm like, no way, Dad. I'm like, I've had that happen too. So my dad was having things happen that I was hearing things that I was hearing, but on different nights.
Validation. That is so cool. Yeah. And I think it's so cool when parents accept your stories and believe you and honor that. And instead of going, oh, that's just your, special friend, or I wish more parents were open to that. I mean, I think, kids are magnets for the paranormal because of their aura, their eyes not closed yet. They're open to that. So I wish I'd had that. I think I maybe have had more experiences as a child if I had.
Right.
and not waited till I was 40 before I had my first one, for sure.
I hear you. I hear you.
So, what made you go into the medical field? I mean, did you think about the paranormal at all when you went into the medical field? Was that part of your process?
Not really. I was, you know, ever since I was a kid, again, I was interested in kind of in medicine. And I remember going to the doctor, and I was amazed that the doctor could hear my story and, examine me and then figure out what was going on and then treat me like it would get better. So I thought that was pretty cool. And I thought the stuff in his office was pretty cool, all the little tools and things. And then my mom, she had this health book. It was like a health encyclopedia. And then it had all these different remedies and stuff. But it had, in the middle of it, it had anatomical like charts and things. So I flipped through that. I thought it was cool that you could, it was one of those layer things. So you could put the bones, put the muscles.
Yes.
So I was fascinated by that. So kind of all my life.
Times, yes. That was some cool stuff back in the day. Yeah.
Yeah. It was like cool stuff. So I was always really into that. And, I kind of, as I went through my career, like high school and all that stuff, I kind of wavered and thought I would do something else. But kind of lying underneath all of it was I wanted to kind of be a doc, to be able to, do what my doctors did when I was a kid and all that. And I thought it was cool that you'd be able to, you can put information together and come up with a diagnosis and all that.
So yeah, tell me, I get this question a lot. I'm a full-time history teacher at the high school, and I do paranormal investigations like at night and on the side and on spring break and on weekends. And so, I try to kind of collide or combine, history, historical aspect of a site. I study the history behind a site before I go in, and I really try to tell the story before. So with you, I think it's just the combining of the medical field and the paranormal is absolutely fascinating. And I think it should be tested and done a whole lot more. Tell me how your colleagues feel about this, because the question that I get a lot is, how do your teacher friends feel about you investigating? How do they question you? Do they think you're weird? Do they support you? Do they watch your stuff? How do your students feel? So I'm going to ask you that question from the medical field. Do other doctors know what you do? Do they support you? Do they ask questions? Kind of tell me the support you get around you from other docs.
Yeah, I get a lot of support, man. I mean, as I'm sitting here thinking and listening to you, I can't think of a negative thing that I've received from people that I work with. In fact, people think it's really cool what I'm doing, and they always have their own stories. I think all of us, or a majority of us, have had some kind of paranormal experience, either a part of our training or personal experiences, and we just don't share it, because we're afraid of what it's going to do for us. For me, for me, I'm not so worried about it. I'm like, I think it's important to get it. I think it's important for people like with our medical background to say, hey, I think this is real. We need to really pay attention to this. And I think, we shouldn't hide in the shadows with it. And, but anyways, my colleagues are real supportive. In fact, where I work now, the one doctor I work with, she goes, Don, our office is haunted as heck. And, so she got me thinking. That's where I started like trying to catch evidence in our office. And our office is pretty active for sure.
So have you investigated the hospital you work at, or your
just in our office, because we get all kinds of crazy things going on, like on Instagram and then on my YouTube and Facebook. I have clips of one of the things that happens. I actually caught this on video recently. The paper towel, we have those motion activated paper towel dispensers.
Yes.
So our office, let me jump backwards a little bit. So our office, I'm a hospital based, so we don't see patients in it. So it's an office where there's 2 sleeping areas, 2 bathrooms. There's a common area. There's 4 workstations where you can look up your patients and do your work, do your progress notes and things. So, but in each of the bathrooms, there's motion activated paper towel dispensers, and there's also motion activated lights. So in fact, my good friend, I work a week and I'm off a week. So I'm off this week, but we were working on Sunday together. He's like, man, Don, he goes, I was trying to sleep here last night, and the paper towel dispenser was started just going off. He goes, it just ran and it ran and it ran and just filled the floor up with paper. He goes, and he's more religious. So he's like, I just started praying to Jesus. he goes, I prayed to Jesus that whatever it is goes away. But yeah, so our office, we get all that stuff going on. We get the lights turning on by themselves. We get the paper towel dispensers. You'll literally be by yourself in the office, and you'll hear somebody typing on a keyboard. You can't see the keyboard because it's kind of in a tucked away around the corner. And I've already been there, and I've thought to myself, I thought so-and-so left. I thought I'm by myself. Yeah. And I go look, and there's nobody there. But it's not like a little tick. It's like, did. So you'll hear that, and other people have heard that. One of my friends who doesn't work there now, he's up in Boston now. He was like, every morning he would tell me, yeah, I heard somebody in the bathroom again, and there was nobody in there. And so we get, I don't know, I'm not sure who or what or why, but one of the things, so our building that we're in is 3 floors. Down the hall from us is a hospice unit. It wasn't there initially, but it's been there about 3 or 4 years now. So I think some of the energy might be coming from the hospice unit because people are, they basically come there to pass away and, be comfortable.
Well, I've always believed, and you can tell me if you believe this or not, or, that's fine if you don't. But I've always believed hospitals are more haunted than cemeteries. Just because that's where they pass. That's where they leave their bodies. A cemetery is a week after, 2 weeks after it's, the shell of a person, but the spirits are moving in and out of people in the hospital. And I feel that that's where you have more spiritual activity. So whenever I see a hospital, I see haunted. When I see a cemetery, I don't think so much there.
I think you're exactly right. And some of the books I've read is most people say everybody thinks a cemetery is haunted, but they're really not. They shouldn't be because that's not where the person passed. In fact, it's funny you mentioned this because my daughter is she's 8 years old now, and we were talking about cemeteries, and I said, cemeteries typically aren't haunted. I said every now and then you might have some activity happening there, but I said that's just where the body is. The people died somewhere else, and so I agree with you on that.
Yeah. So, I have not been to a cemetery that I haven't had activity in, but like you, I feel like they follow me. I'm attracted to it. I feel like anywhere I go, I'm getting, activity. It is a burial ground. So, that is pretty sacred. So I agree with that. But I think anywhere can be haunted for sure. I think Bianca said that anywhere can be haunted. Yes, I agree with you, Bianca. Anywhere can be haunted, but I do think that hospitals seem to harbor a lot of those spirits because that's where they've traveled in and out. Even, your experience with the Code Blue where they left and then came back into the body, they could be leaving and coming. And, I think we kind of bypass hospitals a lot for sure.
Well, and the other thing with hospitals, I mean, there's so much energy going on. There's so much
trauma and just emotions.
Yes. And good and bad. You have people dying, but then you have the people
being saved and then people getting excited and then crying and then devastation. It's just, Yeah. Okay, so one of our viewers, guys, if you have any questions for Dr. Don, please ask. I'm going to read those to him. I've got a really great question from Scott. He said, how long does a person hear after passing? So I don't know if you know this answer or not, but like once they pass, can they still hear? Do they still sense anything? Do you know this answer?
I don't know, but I can tell you about some experiences, when you were talking back about experiences I had when people have actually died, where a lot of times I'm in the room right as people pass, or we got to actually come down and pronounce them dead after they died. So thereabouts right after they've passed. But when I've been in the room, you can almost feel like there's some energy that goes around the room or leaves the body. I haven't particularly seen anything with my eyes, but I've felt like this almost similar to that energy I felt when I felt it go through me back into the patient we were coding, and then he came back to life. You almost feel like this breeze and like a kind of electricity in the air. And so it seems like, as soon as, you're physically dead, that the soul or the consciousness leaves the body and kind of makes its rounds. Now, I'm not sure,
how long you're sensing.
Right. And do you have a choice? Like, one of the things I wonder is, do you have a choice? Because in near-death experiences, you get to a point in a near-death experience, you're either told to go back or you're got to make a choice. So I don't know if you have a choice to say I want to go to the afterlife, or can you stay forever? You know, it seems like some spirits stick around forever and never really kind of cross over, and then other ones seem to cross over and then maybe come back. No.
So, do you have cameras in your operating rooms, or is that like a legal issue?
I don't think they do. Not at the main campus. No, where I'm at now, we don't have operating rooms. But the main, I don't think you can.
Okay.
You know, if they do, they probably don't tell anybody. But there are some research. There are some research
because, like, you know, you said that you didn't see anything with your eyes physically when a soul leaves. You felt it, but if they had cameras in there during an operation, during, you know, a life or death situation in there, I wonder if they would capture, you know, that experience that you felt for sure.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting you bring that up, because I've been kicking around the idea of doing a study with some hospice patients. I just got to kind of get it together and figure out the legal aspects of all of it, medical legal. But I would love to be able to get permission from patients and families to be present when somebody dies and have our equipment there, including cameras. You know, can't have different cameras, have the SLS and, you know, regular cameras and K2s, and just see, can we pick up on an energy leaving the body when it dies? So that's one of the things I've been kicking around, and I just got to figure out how to.
A couple of footage pieces that I've seen on paranormal caught on camera. I don't know if it was before my episode or after, but they caught a deer that was hit on the side of the road, and they saw a spirit leaving a deer. So, and they were like, did I just capture what I think I captured? And it was plain as day, a spirit leaving a deer. And one, it shows that animals have those spirits.
Right.
And like you were talking about pets, and how they have this conscious spirit thing that was going on. And there was another one, I think it was a still camera. They were just taking photos of a crime scene of a car wreck, and they caught something leaving in a still photo. But the other one was a video of the spirit leaving.
I've seen some of those. I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Well, I've had people reach out to me on my Haunted M.D. Facebook page and talk about they've seen, like, they were at the bedside and they saw like a light energy, like almost like a misty light.
Yeah.
Leave. And then one person even tried to send me a picture, but it was hard to tell what it was. But people have witnessed that, you know, when they're sitting at the bedside of their loved ones.
Yeah, that's kind of, I was checking to see if you've had that, but yeah, I mean, if you ever get that permission, that would be something medically and scientifically, I don't think has been done before.
No, it'd be pretty cool.
Yeah.
I need to do it. I just need to I just got to figure out who to ask.
Literally, yeah.
I don't want people to think I'm too crazy.
No, no, I get that. So tell everyone, I don't have any other questions before we leave, guys. Do you have any other questions for him that I am not thinking of that you just necessarily want to hear? So what does your family think about this? Let me ask you that while we're waiting on some viewers' questions.
Oh, my family, they think it's pretty cool. They're really super supportive of it. We often go back and talk about our experiences as a kid, because, you know, I think back, you know, I do these podcasts and these interviews and all that. And I go back to my sisters. I'm like, do you guys remember some of this stuff? And they remember a little bit, but interestingly, they didn't have as much stuff happen as I did. So I don't know what makes me special that I don't know if I just, maybe like my mom said, I have a gift for it. But I don't know, man. It's everywhere so my family's really super supportive. My sister, Denise, she's actually, so I'm the oldest, Denise is the middle, and Shelly is the youngest. But she's really into Bigfoot. So we go back and they live in Ohio still. So when I go back to Ohio, they're always like, hey, you want to go look for Bigfoot? So we'll all jump in the van, and then we'll go down to Salt Fork in Ohio, or we'll go, she lives close to the Cuyahoga Recreational Valley. So we'll go down and look for, kind of, you know, not officially, but kind of like look in the woods.
Yeah. Well, I tell you, I would say about 5-10 years ago, I did not believe in Bigfoot. I have changed my views on that. I'm
really?
A believer. Yes. I've always believed in aliens. I've never really wavered on that. But Bigfoot, I was like, yeah, there's no way. But I'm a believer now. I mean, with all of this and just researching and studying the paranormal and just the cryptids and 100%. I'm not sure about mermaids yet. I'm on the fence about mermaids, but
Right.
Bigfoot's 100%. I was
Did you have
behind
an
it.
experience? Did you have experience or?
No, no, zero. But I'm just watching footage of other people's experiences.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, just the community and just seeing their work and the footage on, Paranormal Caught on Camera or other shows. It's hard to kind of, I mean, I believe it. I haven't had an experience yet, but I live in Arkansas. There's lots of woods here, so who knows?
Yeah, yeah. So I
Yeah,
had a couple. I had a couple. If you want to hear them, a couple quick experiences
yeah,
with
real quick. Yeah,
Bigfoot.
let me hear about your Bigfoot.
So grew up in Ohio. We always went fishing. Me and my dad and my dad's friend. We were fishing up actually between Toledo and Sandusky in this place called Turtle Creek. And the Turtle Creek was it came off of, so the Lake Erie came in like a little bay, and then the Turtle Creek was like a river off of that, or river draining into the bay. And it was probably about 30 yards or so across this creek where we were fishing, and it had gotten dark out, and there was woods. So it was like a wooded area, although it was kind of close to a highway and things like that too. But where across from us was woods, and we started hearing like these like tree branches kind of breaking and kind of some grunting noises, like and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And all suddenly, like these fairly large rocks were being thrown about halfway across this river, this creek, which was pretty far. And it happened 2 times. The first time I kind of looked at my dad and I could tell he was kind of freaked out about it. But then we kind of kept fishing. And then about 20, 30 minutes later, you could kind of almost see this shadowy thing in the trees. And then another big rock came across the water, not all the way towards us, but about halfway across this, probably a good 10, 15-yard toss, and a pretty big size rock. And at that point, my dad was pretty freaked out, and we packed the car and got out of there. My dad was a hunter and a steel worker, like I said, and he was a big dude. So for him to get freaked out, it was, it
had to be something serious. Yeah.
Yeah. So that happened. And then probably within about a year or so of that one, we were fishing around Sandusky again in a wildlife reserve. It was called Rest Haven Reserve, and they had, like, in the summer you could fish, in the winter and fall you could hunt. They had pheasant and bass fishing, all that kind of stuff. So, and they're all these little individual lakes and ponds. So we had decided, we found our spot at one of the lakes there, and my dad and his buddy set up, and I was a little bit, I was like a 14, 15-ish maybe. And I was like, I want to have my own spot, so they're fishing there, and I'm like, I'm going down here and fishing.
I'm going to go now.
That's right. I want my own damn spot. And so I went closer to where the woods was, and they were a little further out of the woods. And I started hearing this stuff in the woods, like noises, like something was walking around, and I would hear this grunting noise again, like, and I was like, what in the world is that? And then all of a sudden, after about 10 minutes, 15 minutes of that, I'm not lying, it was a Bigfoot yell like you hear on these shows. Like people describe that. I was just like, I was shy. I didn't know what to do, and I looked over at my dad, and my dad's eyes were real big, and we just packed the car up like instantaneously. We at that time had a pickup truck. So we just,
this was in Ohio, right?
This was in Ohio. Yeah. This was back in, like, what would that have been? 1980s, somewhere around there. Yeah. 80.
So where are the most sightings? What state? Is it Ohio?
Ohio has a lot. Yeah. Cause they have that along up there in the Sandusky region, but then they have Salt Fork. Salt Fork is where the Grassman is down there. So Ohio has they got a lot going on. And then where my sister lives, she lives close to Cleveland, and kind of east where she lives is the Cuyahoga Recreational Valley. There's the Cuyahoga River goes through there. It's a wildlife reserve or a national park. Mm-hmm. So there's all these woods that are preserved. So they've actually had some sightings there too of Bigfoot. And
I just wish someone would catch one so we could just nail it down.
I know.
We should know. Well, tell everybody, thank you so much. Tell everybody where they can find you, where they can follow you. I've got it in the description box, but I try to tag you on Twitter. You're not on Twitter, correct?
No.
Okay, but you're on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. So tell them where they can find you.
Yeah, so my main site that has all the really super cool stuff on it is my Facebook page. It's Haunted M.D, capital H, Haunted M.D, M.D. And you can go on there. I've had that started in May, so it has all kinds of interesting things. If you page back through there, evidence clips. It has, text things I've typed out. I've talked about the pineal gland. I know the pineal gland is a hot topic for folks.
Yeah.
In paranormal. So there's a lot of evidence, there's stuff on there. Then Instagram is Haunted M.D, small h, haunted, and then the little space line and M.D. And then YouTube is Don Molnar, Haunted M.D. And then that one, so Instagram is the newest. The YouTube is the second newest. And then my Facebook page has all this stuff on it that I've been doing. So, and I'm hoping to write a book. I started writing a book and I kind of petered out a little bit. So I'm trying to get fired up on that again. So I like to do a book called Haunted M.D, where I talk about my childhood, but then also talk about being a doctor.
Connecting it all. Absolutely. I would buy that. Please finish that.
All right. Well, good. I'll do that.
Yeah. I'm actually writing a book too, but it's not on that subject. It's a true crime book about a serial killer here in my area.
Oh, wow. Is it based on a true story? True story? Or?
It is a true story. Yes. He was a serial killer that literally 20 people know of, but yet killed as many people as like the famous ones. Yeah. So, and he just was small town, so no one really heard of him. So yeah, we are, I've interviewed this family, survivors of the families, and then the ones that got away from his attacks. It's a really hard story to write. I mean, it's very dark. And so whenever I write it, I have to take a break from it a little bit because it kind of gets to me emotionally.
Oh, wow.
But he targeted kids. So that one is kind of really, really hard to write. But yeah, I'll check your book out. You need to finish that for sure. Yeah. You are a very interesting man with a lot of knowledge. Y'all go check out his Facebook and his YouTube and his Instagram. I've seen your videos on YouTube and they are so informative. He's literally a teacher. Like you teach us how it goes down. And I don't have enough time to go through all of that information, but he really breaks down the afterlife and what happens when you pass based off of the experiences that he's been through. So thank you so much, Doc. We appreciate your work in the medical field, and stay safe and healthy in your family, and keep doing what you're doing, and would love to have you back on anytime.
Yeah, sure. I'm glad to come on. Yeah. Thanks for having me on.
All right. Thanks, guys. So y'all go check him out. He's a really cool dude and super smart. And I just really appreciate all of his expertise and his work in the medical field. So y'all go check him out. All of his information is down in the description box. I need to add his Facebook. I don't think I have that down there yet, but I will go do that as soon as we finish. And love you guys. Thank you so much for here. And I will see you in a couple of days. I've actually got an investigation I'm going to post tomorrow. Super haunted brothel that I did last week. So that's going to be out tomorrow. So don't forget to check that out. Thank you guys. Bye.